Welcome everyone, I'm back with a new video. Took a break from content for a while, but I'm excited to get back on the saddle, if you will, again, and share some updates from my side. And specifically this today is about the Lightning success, the Lightning Network's success metrics, as well as yield is here for Lightning. And one of the biggest updates of the year is Block's Cash App, the company who owns Cash App. They earned 9.79% yield on their Lightning operations. And this is a very, very important topic for a lot of businesses. One of the hottest things in the world right now are new stablecoins that come out that pass the yield on to their customers. As we all know, Tether makes boatloads of money holding 3-month treasuries, and new stablecoins that want to compete with them, one of their only real offerings is we're going to give the yield to the customer. So earning these very small percentages that if you handle enough stablecoins, it balloons and adds up over time. And we're at this unique crossroads where earlier this year, Tether and Lightning Labs did a keynote with the COO at Kraft, Brian Murray, and they disclosed to the world Bitcoin and Lightning will be hosting Tether. Tether is coming to the Lightning Network. And this year, Tether, and last year, Tether, in particular, they have deprecated many chains which Tether was on, underperforming chains. And the one thing that's happening in the world right now is the Bitcoin Treasury revolution. And at this time, a lot of companies are raising capital, acquiring Bitcoin, and it's a race to hold as much Bitcoin to create shareholder value and returns for investors. But Bitcoin is not just meant to be held. Bitcoin is more than a perfect store of value. And the thing that's unique about Bitcoin and why the Lightning Network is so successful is it brings Bitcoin to be a real-time payment system. And with all of these companies holding Bitcoin, they are finding ways to put it to use, whether it be to create new opportunity to create leverage with access to cash. MicroStrategy, they're creating these preferred stocks and other ways to gather more capital without diluting the common. But what's next? We've got the store of value, and next down the line is medium of exchange. So how are businesses going to use Lightning as a medium of exchange? Use Bitcoin as a medium of exchange. And the thing is they're not necessarily just going to start using Bitcoin as a medium of exchange or facilitating payments day to day over Lightning. But the one thing they can do is they can take their idle Bitcoin that's in their treasury and they can deploy it into the Lightning Network to add liquidity so that these businesses on the edges of the internet, particularly exchanges, wallets, neobanks, iGaming companies, and these lending companies who do a lot of lending with Bitcoin, the Lightning Network offers a unique opportunity for each of them. They now can enable instant settlement payments globally with near zero fees. And all of these treasury companies that are holding on to hundreds of billions of Bitcoin, they have a way with Amboss's product Rails to put that capital into the Lightning Network to earn yield for facilitating payments. And what's unique about this is more payments that happen over Lightning leads to more revenue for these companies. And just by holding Bitcoin and by deploying it into the Lightning Network, you can earn yield. And as we know from the popularity of DeFi within the small DeFi community on crypto Twitter, and now with Bitcoin becoming a large tool within Bitcoin Treasury, it's very clear that yield is in demand even by the institutional groups. You log into anything like Robinhood, or they have ETH and Solana staking. You go to Coinbase, you can stake all kinds of things. But whenever you stake money, whenever you stake a crypto with one of these people, you're giving up custody. It's not non-custodial. You're now giving your coins to one of these platforms or these banks. And with Rails and Lightning, what's unique is you put your Bitcoin on your node. So this is self-custody Bitcoin. You're keeping it. You enable Rails as a service, Amboss's product, and now you've gained access to yield. So typically with yield, what you're doing is you're lending money out or you're rehypothecating money, meaning you give it to Coinbase or you give it to BlockFi, Ledin, FTX, one of these companies, and they would go and lend it out on your behalf. Now granted, some of these lending companies exist today, And there's something popularized called proof of reserves, which helps reduce the risk in some ways and gives some insight or clarity into what's happening with your money. But with the Lightning Network and Rails, you are the custodian. The money is on your node, and you're tapping into Rails to then route these payments and manage your node for you so that you can earn yield without giving up your funds. This is a very big deal. And where does the yield come from? Well, let's dive into that, because typically the yield from these legacy services that have blown up over the last 10 years is they lend your money out to someone and they take the interest and pay you some. And then who knows what the other people are doing with your money? Is it risky? All these things. It's just like hidden behind a veil. Where with typical systems, we have these problems. But with Lightning, where does the yield come from? Let's just get to it. There's payment routing. There's benefits from payment traffic and you routing it. And you might earn somewhere between, at the lowest, 0 to 1%. But now there's also liquidity leasing. And this is what creates new pathways on Lightning, new channels, and new opportunities where if someone needs inbound traffic, inbound payments, you get paid. And that's historically in the range of 1 to 4%. So if you've gotten this far and you're like, what does this mean? How are you earning? Well, Lightning is a peer-to-peer system, meaning every node on the network plays a role either in being a hub in the network where payments are flowing everywhere, or you're more of like a spoke, maybe a different style of user. But these hubs are what send and receive tremendous amounts of capital, and they are core to the network functioning. And businesses are in a good position to become one of these. Now, the one thing that Paulo has said about the Lightning Network is that it is the only blockchain technology that can scale to serve the world, because nearly every single blockchain has this shared state that must be at all times understood by every participant. So this is why Solana and Ethereum, staking is incredibly expensive, or like running a node for Solana is incredibly expensive. With Lightning in this peer-to-peer network, to keep this simple, is you don't have to know everything about the entire network. There's not this global shared state that must be understood. What is required is you as your own node, you only have to know what's happening with your peers within the channels you have open with them. So this is very lightweight, and it makes it very easy for anyone to become a node. It's very capital efficient, and it's very low in technical debt for teams compared to some of these other options. But who's built the rails of the Lightning? Well, it started with Bitcoiners back in the day. It was a bunch of grassroots Bitcoiners who started Lightning nodes and bootstrapped the Lightning Network, just like Bitcoin was bootstrapped by a bunch of cypherpunks 16 years ago. The Lightning Network started the same. These Bitcoin holders were putting their capital into Lightning, learning about it, stumbling along, dealing with failed payments, learning how to handle this peer-to-peer network. Just like when Bitcoin was worth $0 and now it's worth 120,000, Lightning had, almost no value at the beginning, and it was just kind of stumbling and going along, and upgrades have been made. And now 6-7 years later, we're at a point where we as people understand how this technology functions. We know how to manage channels. It's in production today. Cash App uses Lightning, Coinbase uses Lightning, Kraken uses Lightning, and we've got a lot of success metrics where some exchanges, they've gotten now 30 to 40% of all Bitcoin payments over Lightning. And this is what creates this opportunity to earn yield. When customers are using Lightning at that level, like Cash App, who has about 25% of their payments, 1 out of every 4 payments in Bitcoin are sent over Lightning, that creates an opportunity to earn a lot of revenue and to become a backbone of the Lightning Network and push Bitcoin further beyond a store of value. Because Lightning is the next layer on top of Bitcoin. It's the only second layer, layer 2 of Bitcoin, that is truly in production for enterprises and for individuals at scale. There's over 600 million people who have access to Lightning today. So this is a compelling time to not only stack Bitcoin, but to put that Bitcoin to work in a non-custodial way without giving up your keys, and to earn yield. And as we know, it's one of the most important and most valuable topics to people. A lot of us just love to hold our Bitcoin. We're not concerned with yield. And with this in particular, you can still hold your keys and have access to yield. And the good thing about Lightning, the more success Lightning has, the more success Bitcoin has. And I think it's that simple. This wasn't scripted, speaking from the heart, sharing with you guys. And I think this is one of the biggest things that's unfolding this year is treasuries are always trying to find an edge. They want to find ways to get more access to more Bitcoin to benefit shareholders. And right now there's over, I think, 260 companies holding Bitcoin. It's growing rapidly. This is becoming one of the biggest topics for treasuries is how do we get access to more Bitcoin? And how can you do it without getting leverage, without diluting shareholders? Lightning. It's amazing. So if this is insightful and you made it this far, come to our webinar we're doing July 29th. I'm going to be sitting down with the CEO of Amboss, Jesse Schrader, and we're going to be talking through not only the Lightning success metrics that Voltage has from serving enterprise global exchanges across the planet and different payment companies, but also how treasuries can use rails to have non-custodial yield to keep your Bitcoin within your own keys and to power the Lightning Network, which is the enterprise solution to make Bitcoin payments global and soon stablecoin payments reliable for global enterprises. So that's all. Have a great day. Happy Friday. Love you guys. Talk soon.